Clock would not stop after a first down.
Oh.
Would not stop after a first down.
Okay.
Except for the final 2 minutes. That's what they're looking at there. And clock does not stop after an incompletion.
What?
Yes.
No, they shouldn't do that.
Let me rephrase.
Holy smokes.
Let me rephrase. Temporarily stops, then spot the football, run the clock again after an incomplete pass.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, boy. Okay. I thought I'd be into these.
Proposed rule changes. Let us know what you think. 875-KTGR, 573-875-5847. What do you think of the proposed rule changes that college football is thinking about putting in place for 2023? Again, nothing's official yet. They're just talking about
Oh, man.
Now, here's the thing. This is the XFL rule. Clock doesn't stop after a first down.
Right.
Until the final 2 minutes of a half. And I believe they run the clock after an incomplete pass once they spot the ball again.
They do.
Pretty sure that's what the XFL does.
I think that's right in the XFL. And that's why you saw those really low over-unders. You know, they're all in the mid-30s. They're like, what's going on there? Well, it's the rule changes.
Yeah, it's the different ways that they run the clock there.
Dude, I don't know.
Every team gets as many possessions. Yeah, so, I mean, the last one is the most significant, right? Stopping the clock momentarily and then running it again after an incomplete pass. It's not something that we've seen really across football.
They don't do that in the NFL. I mean, that would be
don't do that in the NFL.
Again, the XFL, that's all well and good, but let's be honest, that is more of an experimental league. And so it's okay to do things like that. But to bring that into college football would be a big change.
875-KTGR if you want to give us a call or a text. Now, it seems that the Rules Committee is a little more serious about the first down change instead of the incomplete pass
and so reiterate
change.
that. It would be no clock stoppage until 2 minutes.
Right.
And is that the game or the half?
Temporarily, I believe it's at the end of a half.
Okay, so it happened twice per game. That's my thing. Like, what I'm hoping here is for some progress, because let's be honest, they do have a pace of game issue in college football. It's everybody's favorite sport, right? Like, the passion is incredible for college football, but we can be real with it and say it's the one sport that has the potential to go 4 hours for just a standard game. Right. And it's too much. It's overkill. But what I hope they don't do is look at all these potential changes and say, hey, we're going to MLB this thing and change it all at once. You could introduce one or two of the changes to help the situation and not just have to do everything all at once and hope it works out. Because I think if you did both the incomplete pass and the other one, what was the other one? First downs. I think if you did both of them, that's overkill. I think the deal with not stopping the clock after first downs could maybe be, I could maybe get on board with that. I don't know.
That's what's going to be really interesting is how will it affect the time of a game?
Oh, it would
now.
It would speed it up. That's for sure.
I think it would.
You're not sure?
Okay. Both of them definitely would. If they did both the first down, no stoppage, and the incomplete passes, absolutely.
But even one is going to cut it down.
Here's why I am. I mean, look, the non-stoppage after a first down would cut down a little bit on the time. But if you think about it, I mean, the clock doesn't stop all that long for
it's about 4 to 6 seconds, depending on how quickly they spot the ball. How many first downs are there in a game? I mean, we could do the math on this.
I mean, here's the thing, that they went through a study on this.
Okay.
And the NFL game, so the NFL, they do this the way that college would look if they decided to go with the first down changes and not the incomplete pass. So in the NFL, games average about 155 plays.
Okay.
The average in FBS is around 180. So you're talking about maybe taking away about 7 plays for each team during a game. 7 plays. I mean,
I just think that's a bad way to frame it, though. I mean, what's the total number of plays you'd lose? It's
so here's what I also kind of pause at. The college game is played differently. There are a lot more passing downs.
Yeah.
The teams pass a whole lot more. which leads to more incomplete passes. The NFL, while it's become more of a passing league, and they're definitely more geared toward quarterbacks, but you are running the ball a lot more than you are in college.
That's fair. I don't disagree with that.
And that means the clock rolls some more. Yes, it's better to have that game be sped up by having fewer first downs. I think it would. The estimates are that it would cut down the average time of a college football game by about 5 minutes.
I don't see how it's not more than that, but I guess
it's the average time. I mean, again, you're talking about every single college football game being pooled into one time. When you factor all of that in. I mean, 5 minutes can be a pretty significant change. I do wonder if it makes as much of a change because the college game is so differently played than the NFL game.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I understand that. More passing, more incompletions. But I think doing the incompletions one where you don't stop the clock after incompletions would be overkill. Like, not even the NFL is doing that.
No. Yeah.
That would be the more significant change. There's no doubt about it. Because then you get another 40-second play clock to run, and you could run that thing down to 8 or 9 seconds. That's a whole 30 seconds shaved off the clock. That would be substantial. I'm not ready to see them make that kind of change yet. I don't think.
See, that would be the most drastic one, and I think the toughest one to adjust to.
Yeah, I mean, for real, it's a change that we don't even know as football fans how we would feel about it because we haven't seen that be the case anywhere but the XFL for a few games. And how much attention are we really paying to that?
Right. I mean, we're paying some. It's more of a gimmicky thing. It's a different type of league.
Believe
me, that we're testing out.
I'm in on it, cacaw and everything, but
right.
It's not the same as the longevity of our fandoms of NFL college football.
And they're also talking about implementing these changes because of player safety. Like if you shorten the game, then you expose players.
They say fewer football means less football means less injuries. I mean,
fewer
okay,
injuries.
Yeah, I did that really well.
I somewhat get, but at the same time, if you're trying to go
if that's
quicker,
the way you feel,
I mean, again, if you have the time cut from your game, if the clock stops for fewer things, then it might cause teams to start to go a little bit faster. And
maybe so. Yeah.
If you go faster, then your players are a little more at risk for injury if they play too fast.
Yeah, I could see that potentially too.
And so that's the other thing with this whole scenario is that college football is going to brand this as a player safety initiative. I don't think that's going to be.
No, it's not. But I don't think they don't have to brand it that way either. They can brand it as we know that some of our games take 4.5 hours, and as much as you guys love college football, that's too much. You could brand it that way, and fans would be on board.
Here's the thing: if you are not a fan of the commercial break, kickoff, commercial break sort of sequence, that sandwich there, that if you have a kickoff after a touchdown and you have 2 commercial breaks on either side.
Do you really? I don't think that's true.
Have you ever seen that you've seen that in the NFL before? Like in the NFL, they would have a commercial break after a touchdown.
Yeah.
And they would have the kickoff, and then they would go to another commercial break because they need to get in as many commercial breaks as they can. They have a certain amount that they have to get to.
I might be totally just Mandela affecting this. I've never heard that.
You are not paying attention to this.
I don't think that happens.
Before. It's maybe happened a little bit more in the past.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's more common in the NFL where you have fewer possessions. Therefore, you have fewer chances to take timeouts.
Right.
And then a TV station will panic and say, oh, okay, we got to fit 2 timeouts in between possessions. So we're going to do the kickoff, and then we're going to go to another commercial break.
Yeah, okay.
So get ready to see that a little more often in college football if they implement.
Well, here's the thing. They're not going to implement the incomplete pass thing. They're not. Okay. I just can't imagine it, Andy. Like, it would be
that would be a tough thing to
You can do the other one because the NFL does it. Football fans are used to it. That is a way to kind of dip your toe in the water on the whole thing. You can't just jump right to XFL rules and be like, yep, everybody's going to think this is great. I also think you could make it so, okay, instead of the last 2 minutes, you could expand it even out a little bit further to decrease the impact of something, because if you go the last 4 minutes, if their teams are trying to make a comeback, like that's been an aspect of college football that
right.
You value the ability to know when the clock stops so that you can try and execute a 2-possession comeback over the final 4 minutes. They might have to consider that sort of thing as well.
So they need to make it even with the out of bounds rule. Like that's what the out of bounds rule is. I don't know necessarily what time frame in the first half and the second half.
4 minutes, I thought, but I could be wrong about that.
It might actually be different between the first and second.
It could be.
It might be 2 minutes for the first half.
We don't know.
4 minutes for the second
right.
half. I don't have the rule book in front of me. I can go back and see.
But you're talking about when you go out of bounds, they will stop the clock to respot the ball, but then it rolls until you get to later in the game, or maybe even later in the half. Like we said, we're not 100%. But that is an opportunity to say, okay, the clock will stop now on these situations, because teams are obviously using the out of bounds lines to try and give their team a chance for more plays so they can make a comeback. I think that's fine if you do it that way. I just still don't think I would support it on the incomplete pass thing. To not stop the clock on an incomplete pass, you're talking 25 to 30-second chunks at a time of game and clock that you would lose as a result of that. I think that takes away too much from the college football game. Like, I wouldn't even support that in the NFL, but I certainly don't support it in college football, where the number of plays, the number of points, they're higher scoring games potentially. I don't think you want to cut too much into that by taking something so experimental that they've only used it in the XFL and implementing it in college football. I wouldn't be in favor of that.
And here's the thing, at least from what I'm reading here from Sports Illustrated, Ross Dellinger had a piece on it yesterday. It doesn't appear that there would be a stipulation of, in the final 2 minutes, the clock stops for good until the next play after an incomplete pass. It doesn't look like there would be a stipulation for
even
that
in
rule.
that, they would say an incomplete pass doesn't stop the clock.
Start running the clock at some point.
That's ridiculous. They're not going to do that. I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all, because they know that's too far. That's too much. They'll do the other stuff, but they won't do what would you say the first two rules were? I know we kind of glossed over those.
So it's you can't call back-to-back timeouts to ice a kicker.
That's fine. It's annoying anyway. Don't do it.
You can't have an untimed down at the end of the first or third quarters, like on a defensive penalty.
Which rarely do we see that come into play anyway. Right. So fine, make those changes. Nobody cares.
I actually wouldn't implement that change.
What?
I would keep in. Yeah, because it's not a time-saving mechanism. You're just changing things to say, "Oh, we're saving time."
No, I agree, but it's
not really a change.
No, it's not. But it's one of those, like, how could you possibly have a strong feeling about that? Like, it doesn't matter either way. Let's not.
I mean, if you're having different standards for the end of every single quarter, I do kind of.
Well, you already have that. No, because you already have that at the end of the second quarter. You don't pick up where you left off to begin the third. It's a halftime. Those are already different standards. So this would just match the vibe
I'm
of that.
Thinking through my thought processing on this, like at the end of a first quarter when you have a defensive penalty, I mean,
it doesn't matter. You're talking one extra play.
It doesn't. It would take away one extra play from a game. That's what it would be doing. But it doesn't change possession. It doesn't change. Spot on the field, things like that. So you're right. It's minor at best. I just don't know if I would change it. That seems to me like something you're changing things
because we
yeah.
can claim, look at all this, right. We're going to do for pace of play, when in reality, nobody cares about that.
You could just make the first down rule a thing and everyone would know, yeah, you're trying to change things to shorten the game.
Yeah.
It makes a higher impact on it. I would be in favor of the whole icing the kicker thing because it gives coaches too much power.
Right. As fans, we know the drill. We don't want to watch 2 or 3 fake kicks just to, know when the real one is. It's obnoxious. Totally on board with that rule. Okay, so I don't think you're going to be on board with this don't stop the clock after incompletions thing, right? We're on the same page here?
I'm not really
Okay,
there.
so let's just gloss that aside because that one's too much. That's too drastic of a change. They're not going to do it. But let me ask you this. Would you support the other change about first downs, not stopping the clock after first downs? Basically, same as what the NFL does. Would you support that?
I mean, sure. I would be fine with it.
Would you, if you could press the button as Andy Humphrey, would you press it and say, yes, make that change? Or would you say, no, leave my college football the way it is?
Yeah, I would.
You making that change?
I mean, if it's something that could make the game somewhat shorter. I don't know if it's going to make the game so much shorter that people wish.
No,
I
think you're right. The more I think through it, it's 5 to 7 minutes per game. Right. That's really what it ends up being.
I mean, it's going to be a long game anyway. Halftime is still 20 minutes. It's still going to take forever. But if I can sit through a game knowing that the first quarter isn't going to last 50 minutes, because that's what tends to happen.
It can happen that way. Yeah.
Like, I have to devote an entire hour of my day to watching a single quarter of college football.
Right.
Like, I can be done with that life. I can absolutely do that.
And you're a guy who you go to a lot of the games. I go to a number of them, but not as many as you do. And so you know that life of I'm in the press box. I'm just like, holy crap, an hour has gone by. What has actually happened on the field?
Right. Yeah.
Which is nothing. We all love college football, but I agree that that's a little bit excessive. The one area that I wonder, Andy, is well, you get into sports betting. How would over-unders change? You know, you'd have historical precedent for here's what I would expect the over-under to be, and that would have an impact because of the fewer plays that would be run.
It would. There would be fewer. There would be shorter totals,
but you'd get used to it eventually.
A little bit more like the NFL.
Well, a little bit more, but we still know the fast pace of college football is a little more. But you're right; it would have that change a little bit. To where I just think it would be an adjustment period at first for people who partake in that kind of stuff.
You see more quick strike plays still in college football. Like, there are way more defensive breakdowns.
And more hurry-up offense, I would argue. Like, there are NFL offenses that do run it, but
nobody really huddles.
No,
like,
they don't.
Even then, like, again, in the NFL, they huddle for almost every single play that isn't, a 2-minute drill or something
Typically, that is true, yeah.
Yeah, so you're not that's also what they run down that play clock almost all of the time.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think I'd press the button. I wouldn't press the button to change it, but I wouldn't mind if someone sat there next to me and pressed it. I'm not going to be up in arms over it, but don't do the incompletion thing. That, I'm telling you what, dude, that would have a...
Oh, man.
Because already you're like tense and nervous about college football when the game is going on. Imagine you don't even get that moment of break to know, okay, the clock stopped. My team doesn't, because now if it's going, incompletion, now I'm watching my team try to make a comeback and tick, 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 tick. The clock is leaving. I would not be very comfortable with that at all.
I would think about it if there was a final 2-minute stipulation.
I wouldn't. Andy, I wouldn't because that would be drastic. I like college football games to be 3 hours. NFL games are about 3 hours, 3:15. I'm good with 3:15 to 3.5. I'm not good with 4. But if you made that change, I promise you, you're talking minor league baseball time on football games with the length. It would be I'm telling you, it's 20 to 30 seconds every time there's an incompletion. That would be significant game clock that you'd never get back. And I'm not on board with the minor league baseball thing with the pitch clock. I mean, it's coming to the majors this year, but I think that is a little bit too much. Don't need to go there. Don't need to go to the XFL.
Don't knock it till you try.
No, I'm knocking it. Let's let a full season of XFL play out, and we'll look at their game times.
Full season of XFL, full season of Major League Baseball with the pitch clock. Let's do it.
Well, we're getting the pitch clock, whether I want it or not. It's here.
Yeah, it's there. 875 KTGR. What do you think about those proposed rule changes? College football's thinking about letting a clock run through a first down, and they're thinking about maybe not as seriously as
I hope not.
But they're thinking about temporarily stopping the clock after an incomplete pass and then rolling the clock again. 875 KTGR if you want to call or text us. Let us know your thoughts on all that here on the Big Show, KTGR and KTGR.com.